Hello! So, this is going to be a video about setting up Octoprint, which is a program that allows me to remotely control 3D printers over Wi-Fi and also see a live camera view of what they're doing. It's pretty cool, and it makes it a lot easier to run printers in a room that you're not in. I'm going to say this is not a tutorial. Don't do what I do. It's terrible advice, and if you value your time, don't run Octoprint on a 15-year-old laptop. Run it on a Raspberry Pi like everyone else. It'll be so much easier. Anyway, without further ado, enjoy the video. So, recently I decided to move my 3D printer into the basement, which is great, except that it means I can't easily check on it, because I have to keep walking down here every time, and it takes a few minutes, and so I can only check every 15, 20, 30 minutes, and so that means that 3D prints can fail, and then I don't notice it. So I want to set up Octoprint, which is a program that can run on a computer that sits next to the printer, and it allows you to control the printer over Wi-Fi and even have like a live camera feed of what it's doing. So, I initially wanted to use this Fujitsu laptop. It's got a Core 2 Duo, 2 gigs of RAM, and just overall specs that would make a lot of sense for this. Except for one problem. The hard drive is dead. Now, I could just replace the hard drive, except annoyingly it uses those like 1.8-inch IDE drives, and I don't have any of those handy, and they're not made anymore, so I'd have to get one used, and so it would take quite a long time to get here. And you can see this tiny little drive bag. So I want to run my operating system from a USB drive. Now, I ideally want it to be persistent, so it stays the same way when I shut the computer down, rather than being like fresh every time. Most Linux Live USBs are not by default. They lose all of their files every time you boot up, and that's useful normally, but in a setup like this where I want to run it like permanently off a USB, it's not what I want. So Ubuntu does support running from a persistent live USB, and I tried creating one. However, because this processor is 32-bit, the newest version of Ubuntu I can use is 18.04. And apparently that has a bug where it just will not boot from the USB. It tries to boot, but then gives you an error. This was apparently fixed in a newer version, except that that newer version won't run on this computer, so I'm kind of toast. I spent quite a long time trying this, trying different settings, trying different tools for creating the USB drive, trying different physical USB drives, and I'm just giving up on Ubuntu, so I'm gonna try Debian. So, never mind. The persistent thing didn't work even with Debian, so what instead I'm gonna do is boot from a regular non-persistent drive and then run the installer and have the target of the installer be another USB drive, and that should be a slightly less clean but still totally workable way of creating a persistent USB drive that should be broken. And we are in the grub menu. Come on, do your thing. Oh, it's working. Blinking cursor. Work, 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 work. We have a boot logo. Oh, it booted to the desktop. Okay, that took way too long, but it's whatever. It doesn't need to be all that fast. I am going to grab a charger because the battery's probably pretty low. Okay, we are in the installer. Password is going to be password because we only use the utmost security here. And log in automatically. There we go. I'll be back in 3 hours. So I got really impatient waiting for the installer to run on that laptop, so I just ran it on my modern computer to that USB drive, and I'll move the USB drive to the laptop when I'm done. And I was, super sure to actually select the USB drive as the target and not, my SSD. I will be so mad if I got the wrong one, but hopefully I didn't. Okay, the installer is finished. That USB drive should now be persistent and live. Oh, that's good. Yes! It worked! Okay. I got Linux booting on here, and after like 5 hours of work, I managed to get Octoprint and MJPEG Streamer. I don't know why I called it libjpeg streamer. MJPEG Streamer running on here, and so everything works and it all runs on startup of this computer. As you can see, I've got this machine connected to it, and I can see the camera view. Hello. It's a pretty bad camera, but it's good enough to make sure that it's not completely failing. I might eventually get a nicer like USB webcam or something for here. But for now, it works. I'm going to bring this all downstairs, plug it into the printer, and yeah. So here's how I set it up downstairs. I've got the computer connected to the printer, and it's just sitting on top of some filament. It's not plugged in right now. It's running off the battery because I don't have a power strip handy. This is running off an extension cord. There's no outlets over here. So I'm going to get a power strip, but for now the battery will work just to test it. And I sort of have the camera angled at the printer. And so I did a test print, and it came out pretty good. This was printed through Octoprint. I could see how it was working. Everything was fine. And, you know, it's not great, but that's mostly just this printer being not great. It's not different from the same print done from the SD card. Then I tried to print something longer, which was a little USB drive / SD card holder. And it failed miserably. This is awful. So yeah, I really am at a loss. I don't know if this is caused by Octoprint or something with the printer. I'm gonna try this again from the SD card and see if that goes any better. But yeah, this is pretty bad. Like, ugh. It just didn't do the second layer. It's not even peeling off properly because it's so thin. I just have to like scrape it. This did not go well. Did not go well at all. So I changed my mind. I'm going to try printing a second time with Octoprint, but I'm going to sit here and watch what happens and where it fails. Turn the printer back on. I wipe down the bed with some alcohol. Give it a minute to connect to the computer. Yeah. Connect. Okay, it is uploaded. I'm going to print it. It's preheating. Okay, so it is nearly up to temp. Oh, there it goes. Let's see what happens. So you notice that, I don't know if you can see it on camera, but at this side of the print, there's almost no material on the first layer. I don't know if it's because it's having issues extruding, or if it's just too thin. It's possible that I need a thicker first layer. Yeah, it's not putting anything out on this side of the first layer. I'm not sure why that is. Okay, I'm gonna stop the print. Yes, cancel the print. Okay. Please stop. So on this side, the first layer is somewhat okay, but still kind of too thin. On this side, there's nothing at all, so I think I might just need to level the bed. That would be pretty anticlimactic. It seems like maybe that's just because this print covers a larger area, and that's why it failed and the other one succeeded. Okay, the leveling is adjusted. Let's try to print a second time. Please don't fail this time. Okay, yeah, it's just not extruding anything at all. The gear is turning. It's gonna require more troubleshooting. Okay, it turns out that it was not Octoprint. The filament was like jammed inside and nothing could come out. So I managed to mostly unjam it. As you can see, it's sort of flowing freely. Soon it will be done heating up and it will start printing my third attempt, and maybe it'll succeed. So yeah, with it ungemmed, you can actually see the first layer. It turns out that leveling was not really necessary, and so now it's actually too low, and like the layers are too thick. So I'm gonna have to fix that, but that's promising. It's not broken anymore. Yep, it's onto the second layer, or third layer. It hasn't failed yet. So I'm gonna say that I fixed it. It was just clogged. Had nothing to do with the Octoprint setup. Yay. Hey, look, it's future me editing this video. I wanted to have a nice time-lapse of it printing one of those SD card holders using my fancy new camera setup. Unfortunately, in keeping with the incredibly professional theme of this video, do you remember about how I mentioned that the computer was running off the battery? Yeah, that battery died partway through, and this is as far as it got. So please enjoy half of a time-lapse.